The House will come to order. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Representative Marvin. From House District 31. Mr. Shebo, please call the roll.
Representatives Amabile, Armagost, Bacon, Representative Bacon,
Excused.
Byrd, Bockenfeld,
Excused.
Basenecker, Bottoms, Bradfield, Bradley, Brown, Catlin, he's here, Clifford, Doherty, DeGraff, Degree Kennedy, Speaker Pro Tem Degree Kennedy,
Excused.
Duran, English, Epps, Evans, Frizzell, Froelich, Garcia, Hamrick, Hartsook, Hernandez, Herod, Holtorf, Representative Holtorf,
Excused.
Judah, Joseph, he's here, Kip, I got you, Leader, Representative Leader. Is she here?
Excused.
Lindsay. Rep. Lindsay.
Excused.
Linstead. Luck. Lukens. Lynch. Mabry. Marshall. Martinez. Marvin. Morrow. McCormick. Rep. McCormick.
Excused.
McLaughlin. Ortiz. No. Representative Ortiz.
Excused.
Parenti. Puglisi. Ricks. Rutnell. Sirota. Snyder. Soper. Rep. Soper. Soper's excused. Story. Taggart. Titone. Valdez A. Velasco. Vigil. Weinberg. Weissman. Wilford.
Present.
Wilson. Winter. Woodrow. Young. And Madam Speaker.
Here. With 60 present, 5 excused, we do have a quorum. Representative Marvin. Representative Marvin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Happy April 1st, everyone. I am going to make a motion today, and the good news is if you vote yes, I hear we won't be meeting on Fridays anymore. So I would suggest voting yes. But with that, I move that the Journal of Thursday, March 28th, 2024 be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
Members, you have heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Members, we are going to do announcements and introductions before we proceed to the business of the day. Rep. Bradfield, do you have an announcement? I know. Representative Bradfield.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to announce that Monday is the day before Tuesday, and Tuesday morning, starting at 7:15, is the Legislative Bible Study in room 107. Come and join us, please.
Thank you, Representative Bradfield. Representative Froelich and, Representative Duran.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I wanted to announce that this Thursday, April 4th, we are going to be doing a resolution for Denim Day, which is Sexual Assault Awareness Day. The actual day is April 24th, but we are going to do it this week since we no longer will do resolutions after April 8th. Anyway, Denim Day on Thursday. You can wear denim on that day. So in support, yeah, if you donate, that's right. We have this little, oh, thank you so much. Anyone who donates will be able to wear denim on Thursday. Last year we raised $1,200. The goal is to go past $1,200, right? So let's go for $1,500. Thursday, April 4th. If you donate, you can wear denim. Thank you.
Woohoo. Minority Leader Puglisi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, I think that there is a lot of generosity and a lot of passion for raising awareness for sexual assault victims who are now survivors. So let's all come together on this great bipartisan effort and help our survivors. Thank you.
Excellent. Denim Day on Thursday. Representative Amabile.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Building on the blue theme, this month is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And these pinwheels are on your desk in celebration of Child Abuse Prevention Month. And I just want to say this is one of the most important things we can do as a society, is to make sure that our kids are safe and that they're brought up in an environment where they're not being abused. And if we can prevent that from happening, then we're going to prevent a lot of downstream consequences. So I hope you'll all reach out to the child abuse prevention crowd.
Excellent. Thank you. Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Members, I wanted to make an announcement. I'm in the process of putting together a group of people, and I need all of your support. Those of you that would like to co-sponsor, those of you that I need a co-prime. This is a bill that we're working on in order to get late bill status. In my district, it's come to our attention that
Members, your attention, please.
there's been a number of sightings, and we really need to do something for this issue. It's something that's big, and it's great big in my district out there and all through the southwestern mountains. What I'm trying to do is to run a bill to protect the animal known as either Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yeti, or a swamp rat. So anyway, thank you very much for your attention.
Representative Catlin, you're on a streak this year. Representative Froelich and Representative Frizzell.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, we have something actually quite important to talk to you about. Representative Frizzell and I, late at night, really decided that we wanted to address sleep deprivation among our colleagues. And we did our research, and we've managed to schedule a special session today with the two people we've found to be the biggest experts in the field, Dr. Freesia Balzoff and Dr. Ophelia Payne. And if you, like us, discover at midnight that it's actually 6:30, we have a time when you can come and hear from experts. And the topics that the experts have agreed to cover are quite varied.
Representative Frizzell, I hope you can save this.
We are so excited to hear today, Monday, April 1st at 12 a.m., room 1113, or 10, what, 11? 113, on topics such as how to stop thinking about what that guy said in committee, because it's keeping you up.
How dreaming about a strike below will help you achieve REM.
Very important. Is reading the long bill a cure for insomnia?
We'll hear about people who only need 5 hours of sleep or how to spot a psychopath.
And this one's very, very important, members. How to avoid nightmares when your fiscal note comes back.
So please join us.
Woo! Round of applause. Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I actually hate to go after all of that, but I have to because no April Fool joke here. At 1:30 today, Agriculture, Water, Natural Resources will be actually meeting, I hope, at 1:30 to hear three bills, 1343, Senate Bill 137, and House Bill 1375. And maybe we'll have some jokes in committee if we're lucky.
Oh, members, we have a very special introduction this morning. Oh, Representative Luck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To make his grand debut, he's a little scared, I guess. It's all right, baby boy. This is Micaiah, and he would like to say hello to you.
Woo. Excellent. Representative Woodrow.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, the House State Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee will be meeting hopefully around 1:30 p.m. to hear Senate Bill 53 and House Bill 1326.
Thank you. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to...
Madam Majority Leader, I think we have one more announcement. Representative Snyder.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Finance will meet in its usual spot, starting at 1:30 to hear four bills, one for action only, whose number escapes me right now. The other three are House Bill 1312, 1064, and 1349. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for third reading.
Members, we are moving on to third reading. I'll ask you all to take your seats. Seeing no objection, we will proceed out of order for third reading. Quiet on the floor, please. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1387.
House Bill 1387 by Representatives Sirota and Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning modifications to the preschool programs cash fund.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1387 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1387 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Please close the machine. With 48 ayes, 16 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1387 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1391.
House Bill 1391 by Representatives Burton Sirota, also Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning extending the continuous appropriation authority for the Educator Licensure Cash Fund.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1391 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1391 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Hernandez and Kipp. Please close the machine. With 47 ayes, 17 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1391 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1428.
House Bill 1428 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning evidence-based designations to assist the General Assembly in determining the appropriate level of funding for a program or practice.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1428 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1428 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Soper votes yes. Please close the machine. With 57 ayes, 7 no, 1 excused, House Bill 1428 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Soper, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1429.
House Bill 1429 by Representatives Burton Sirota, also Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning a transfer from the unused state-owned real property fund to the general fund.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1429 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1429 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Soper votes yes. Froelich and Kipp. Please close the machine. With 64 ayes, 0 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1429 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1395.
House Bill 1395 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning delaying a transfer from the marijuana tax cash fund to the Public School Capital Construction Assistance Fund and in connection therewith reducing an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1395 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1395 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Evans Judah Story. Please close the machine. With 47 ayes, 17 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1395 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title, House Bill 1396.
House Bill 1396 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning the transfer of money from the General Fund to the Advanced Industries Acceleration Cash Fund and in connection therewith extending the Colorado Bioscience and Clean Technology Innovation Reinvestment Act for an additional 8 years.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1396 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1396 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Soper votes yes. Hamrick? Please close the machine. With 47 ayes, 17 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1396 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Soper, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1397.
House Bill 1397 by Representatives Sirota and Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Zenzinger, concerning cash funds that provide funding for the Creative Industries Division in the Office of Economic Development.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1397 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1397 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Please close the machine. With 50 aye, 14 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1397 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1398.
House Bill 1398 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning a transfer to the Procurement Technical Assistance Cash Fund.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1398 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1398 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Rep. Hill. Please close the machine. With 47 ayes, 17 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1398 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1409.
House Bill 1409 by Representatives Burton Sirota, also Senators Bridges and Zenzinger, concerning the funding of employment-related services in the state through the Department of Labor and Employment and in connection therewith, making and reducing appropriations.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1409 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1409 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Please close the machine. With 47 ayes, 17 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1409 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1399.
House Bill 1399 by Representatives Sirota and Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning discounted care for indigent patients and in connection therewith, repealing the Colorado Indigent Care Program, creating the Hospital Discounted Care Advisory Committee, and addressing disproportionate share hospital payments.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1399 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1399 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Basenecker Ricks. Please close the machine. With 48 ayes, 16 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1399 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1400.
House Bill 1400 by Representatives Burton Sirota, also Senators Kirkmeyer and Zenzinger, concerning Medicaid eligibility procedures.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1400 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1400 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 48 ayes, 16 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1400 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1430.
House Bill 1430 by Representative Byrd, also Senator Zenzinger, concerning the provision for payment of the expenses of the executive, legislative, and judicial departments of the state of Colorado and of its agencies and institutions for and during the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024, except as otherwise noted.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1430 on third reading and final passage.
Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Esteemed colleagues, for 5 years I've been coming to this chamber, and for 5 years I've been watching the long bill come to fruition, grow from a small child now to a big adult. You see, back in 2019, we were at $26 billion. Write some of these numbers down if it helps you understand where we were and where we're going. Now we're at 43 billion. 3 billion a year. We grow government in every committee. We appropriate money in almost everything we can. We have grants a go-go for every go-go program we can think of, because everybody is in need of everything all the time. And some that are not in need still are in need because we're trying to grow something. Maybe it's the movie industry. Maybe it's new lights on Main Street. Maybe it's even something as crazy as low emitting LED lights, so when you're in a city you can look up and see stars. When really all you have to do is go about a quarter mile out of town and look straight up, and you'll see all the stars in the world. Of course, you got to know where those city limits are, and you got to leave them. I am very frustrated with the growth of government, and I'm very frustrated as a legislator sitting in all these committees begging for federal funds, begging to pull down those federal funds that just fall from the sky like manna from heaven. When really all we do is increase the federal debt, which turns into a larger federal deficit. You see, the last numbers I ran, and I know many of you have children, Representative Luck, congratulations. Your child now has $110,000 of debt on his head or greater today. Welcome to the world. Welcome to Colorado and the United States of America, because that's the contribution that one infant would have to pay down the federal deficit. Yet we think the money is just there at the federal level. And we request it, and we appropriate it, and we use it. And even though we have a balanced budget, many of these appropriations, including things that are in this long bill, are allowed because of those federal funds that is just borrowed money. I think people in this chamber need to know that. There are states that have turned back federal funds. Good on them. They're giving that borrowed money back. So it just doesn't continue to grow and grow and grow. This state, heaven forbid if we've ever considered doing that, we better get in the committee, roll up our sleeves, and find out what other things we can find to spend money on. What other grant program can we come up with? What other department can we appropriate more money to? What other division with that an department can we grow? Can we invent? That's what we do. I've watched it for 5 years. Someday there'll be a reckoning. And when that 10-pound hammer comes down, hold on to your hat. We've had it before in Colorado. For those of you that like to spend other people's money, when the tax base can no longer support the insatiable appetite of this state, then there is a great reckoning. And all those state jobs that you grew, 3 FTE, 5 FTE, I'm glad to see my colleagues are coming down because there's a lot to talk about. And I will use my 10 minutes. So hold on to your hat and bear with me. You want 3 FTE here. You want 5 FTE here. You want maybe 1 or 2 here, 0.7 here. And you grow that state government. Did you know, ladies and gentlemen, that a healthy economy, the private sector is bigger than the public sector? Did you know that? Well, you might want to look. Years ago, I went to school with a student when I was at CSU, and I was taking graduate level courses in mechanical engineering, third dimensional gas dynamics. Pretty hard class, as I recall. And I had a friend of mine from Tunisia, salam alaikum, for those of you in the chamber. And yes, he was a friend. You know what he told me as we talked about our futures as young 21, 22-year-old graduating engineers that thought we were smarter than whips and had the cat by the tail? Because back then there was a song that said 50 thou a year will buy a lot of beer, and we all wanted to be engineers. He said, when I get to my home country, the only jobs we have are government jobs because the government controls everything. We actually know our salaries. We know how many years we'll be employed. We know when we're going to retire, and we already know what our pension is. Wow. I said, that really stinks. You have no opportunity when you get home? He said, no. In Tunisia, we don't. In fact, I don't even get to decide who I'm going to marry. Wow.
Representative Holtorf to the bill.
Am I straying, Madam Speaker?
A little.
Okay, I'll try to get back on track.
Thank you.
But the reason I point this out, because this is not the world that I want to live in, nor should you. And that kind of spending where the public sector grows larger and overcomes the private sector is a very dangerous model that in the history of this country has failed. And I don't think we understand it. I don't think many of you in this chamber understand it. But you need to study a little bit about history and wake up. Because there is public policy that is promulgated here that is failed policy. And many of us embrace it as if it can go on forever. And there's no end in sight to the manna from heaven. Because it just continues to fall. I speak from the heart. I speak to try to get your attention and make you understand. I speak that we need to consider public policy and finance and the long bill as we throw money around here, there, and everywhere. Like we're preparing for an Easter egg hunt on Easter. And yes, Sunday was Easter Sunday, not something else. Now, I am very disappointed. And JBC, I'm not going to give you grace because you grew the budget again. A couple more million. I love you. I know it's a hard job. But who is standing up and saying, we need to stop the rate of growth? I know you sit there and fight every department that comes in, like children asking for money to go out on a Saturday night because they need more. They've got more movies to go to. They've got more events to go to. They need more money for gas. And yes, that's inflation. Well, our own public policy in this state and in this nation is causing that inflation. What are we doing to address that in this chamber? I don't see it. I think we should. Yet we want to go after things that create value, that is intrinsically valuable in this state. How about natural resources that bring money into the state, all across the state and specifically rural Colorado? You wave that off like it's nothing. Yet the fund that provides the money for your grant programs, you are going to dry up. You will kill the golden goose. You will kill the cash cow in this state, and I watched this journey.
Representative Holtorf, you have
Yes,
1
ma'am.
minute remaining.
1 minute. I'm glad. But I'm watching this journey, and you are all willing partners in taking it. And nobody is saying, the emperor has no clothes. What are we spinning here? Another couple billion, let's keep going. I would imagine there's no end. Under the policies that we promulgate and the governor's leadership, there is no end to the amount of spending if there's some capacity to spend it, even though it's not even real money. It has no intrinsic basis. You want to know we have inflation? Take the economics class and see. Because this is what we're doing. So no, I'm not going to vote for this. In fact, I'm going to reject it, as I've rejected it as you've grown government every year for the last 5. I'm a hard no, ma'am. How many seconds do I have left?
10.
10. Thank you. I'm a hard no. I'm a hard no. 3 more. I'm a hard no. I'm a hard no. Thank you for your attention.
Representative DeGraff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess the good thing about being here today is being able to vote no on this bill. So my colleague gave us some numbers, $26 billion when he arrived ages ago, $43 billion now, $17 billion increase. Now, we're not talking about the trillions and trillionths that I talked about last time and the chasing a ghost of the carbon superstition, but at some point, this is real money, and I just thought, you know what, maybe we'll just take a look at what kind of real money that is. Because if you take $17 billion and you divide it by 6 million, you get about $28.33 per person. So do you think the average family in Colorado is saying, man, I get $2,800 and $28.33. That's how much value I get since 2019. Because it doesn't matter who I talk to. Nobody is ever saying, you know what we need is more government. So $28.33, and I think the average family has about 1.5 kids. So Colorado, if you're the average family with about 1.5 kids, that is $10,000 per family per year. $10,000 per family per year is what's being fleeced out of your pockets by the growing government by $17 billion in the last 5 years. But that's only a fraction. That's only the $10,000. But what if you look at the entire budget? What are you getting out of that $43 billion? What are you getting out of that $43 billion, which for a family of 3.5 is $25,000 per year? Is it going down? No. Is it going to go down? No, it's going to go up. Next year it's going to go up. We're going to start with 500 bills. We're going to start with 500 bills. You know who pays those bills? Colorado, you pay those bills. It's not like this year the majority party has funded all of its wish list. It's just getting started. And as far as I can tell, there's a great resentment that you still have money in your pocket. When people ask me and they say, well, these things are this is gonna cause this is gonna cause this is gonna cause this, I say, fantastic. You have underscored the reason for the bill. There are no unintended consequences to these bills. So when we have bills that are ostensibly going to lower the price of housing, but we know historically that they'll raise the cost of housing. Why? Because lowering the cost of housing isn't the goal. The abolition of private property is the goal.
Representative DeGraff to the bill.
Well, the way you abolish private property is you suck
Representative
$25,000 a year.
Speculating about the goals of members behind the bill is not what we're talking about here. Please speak about the budget bill itself.
$25,000 per year for the average family. $25,000 per year for the average family. Does the average family think they get that value out of government? In 5 years, when we're on this exponential growth curve and it's even higher, there are some things that don't merit government intervention, that don't merit the growth of the Leviathan of government, because that Leviathan is a hungry beast, and as it eats, it grows. And we, the people, are on that menu. But this body will spend even more next year, because these will become the baseline. These numbers will become the baseline. And they'll come back for more. The pencils are already being sharpened. How do we get more? There's already bills in the works, what we call stakeholdering with the special interest groups. How do they get more money out of we the people? It's not going to end this year. The 500 bills paid for by the taxpayers, this is just a start. $3 billion. It's gone up $17 billion in 5 years. That's $3,000. So at this rate, everybody in Colorado can expect your tax burden to go up $1,000 per person per year. Most of the PET programs won't accomplish anything that they promise, because the promise is just the advertisement. It's the emotionalism to put around the hook. And the hook is the growing government. We have a mental health that's growing as fast as the state is turning blue. This body needs to rein in its spending, and it has absolutely no intention on doing so, has absolutely no idea how to do so. And guess what, Colorado? The increased spending is always done for the little people, supposedly. But it's actually done on the backs of the little people. The ones that are saying they're sticking up for you, they're sticking it to you. Every single time. Yes. The ones that say they're sticking up for you, they're sticking it to you.
Representative DeGraff, careful. Thank you.
But that's the nature of government. The nature of government is to grow, and in growing, it shrinks the individual. This budget represents the priorities of this body. It represents the priorities of this body, and the priority of this body is to take more money from the Colorado individual. It's right there, $17 billion extra over the last 5 years, $1,000 per person per year. That is the priority of the Colorado legislature. You can say whatever you want about what's in there, but what the priority is about taking $1,000 per person per year more out of the citizens of Colorado. Year after year after year after year. At one point, we had a constitution. We took an oath to that constitution, and inside that constitution were a set of boundaries. And those boundaries prescribe a government that can act without tyranny. It's a very tightly constrained box. And what we have here in this budget is all of the out-of-box thinking. This is a budget of tyranny. It's a budget that's outside the bounds of the Constitution. And yeah, I know, we assume that everything that we say in here is constitutional unless we, the people, takes it to the court and spends a ton of money to try to overturn it. But in the meantime, $1,000 per person per year. It's obscene, and it's absolutely disgusting.
Representative Frizzell.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Wow, $17 billion over 5 years. That's huge. Just in looking at this budget over a prior year, a $2 billion increase equates to over 5%. year over year. So I hope you're asking yourself, because I've asked myself, did my constituents see a 5.25% increase in their take-home pay? Did they? Have you asked them? Well, we know that they saw a huge increase in what they have to spend at the grocery store, utilities, the gas pump, their property tax bills. I hope you all have had some communication with your constituents on their property tax bills, because we sure didn't help them out there, did we? We have told the citizens of Colorado to tighten their belts, while we here in this building go on a spending spree year after year after year. This is an abject fail. We are failing the citizens of Colorado because we lack the intestinal fortitude to say no. We are creating public policy every year in this building that does nothing but increase the financial burdens for our citizens. And that kills me, because we have the opportunity to do great things. We do. We can create programs that promote school safety so our kids don't have to go to school afraid for their lives. We can harden schools. We have ways to do that. We've talked about it just in the last few days. And we said no. We have the ability to fund public works projects so that we have a safe and sustainable transportation infrastructure. Because we don't. Our roads are embarrassing. Anybody who has driven west from Kansas and crossed the state line, you know where the state line is because you start hitting potholes right away. That's embarrassing. We can do better. We can do great things. We can improve education. But instead, we spend money on increasing the size of government, expanding the overreach of the state into local land use matters. And I won't even go into some of the ecoterrorism measures that we've seen. Members, we can do better. We can serve better. We can budget better. We can say no. I say no. No to this bill.
Representative Bradley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Hope everyone had a great Easter. I'm sorry I had to leave early on Thursday. I wasn't able to defend my amendment. Had I known there would have been multiple untruths spewed to kill the amendment, I would have stayed and given up my vote for CD4. We should have had a lengthy discussion. Questions should have been asked here about the amendment. I want to thank the good rep from El Paso for standing by my side. I was told that it was disingenuous, my amendment. So let's talk about my school safety amendment and what it was that was disingenuous. Wanting schools to have resources to provide safety to their schools, to their students and their staff, is that disingenuous? If we can't agree on safety of children in schools, then there's nothing in this House that we can agree on. Let me tell you what this school safety amendment was not about. It was not about my bill. My bill hadn't even made it to appropriations. It was never about metal detectors. It was never about SROs. What this amendment was a choice for schools to individually decide what helps make them safer. I know we're in this world about regulations and mandates. That's not what this amendment did. It was for schools to decide. This amendment was a choice for them. This was about a fund, the School Safety Disbursement Fund, that granted, you know what it granted last year? $16 million. I asked for $2. It granted $16 million to schools. My caucus made it a priority to ask for $2 million. They set aside all of their amendments for this long bill so that the districts that you represent could have funding to make their schools safer. They put everything aside to give it to me and the El Paso rep here so that their schools could choose how to make their school safer. Other than killing our amendment, was there a solution to make schools safer? $40 billion. Did anyone come up here and talk about making schools safer? Or did we just kill the one amendment that would have done that? It was said in this will that we should be grateful for $200,000. Did you think about that? Any of your schools in your district, when you voted against school safety? Did you think about the kids, parents, teachers in your district when you voted against funding school safety? Or did you actually break down $200,000? Let's talk about that. 1,900 schools in Colorado divided by $200,000. You know what that is? $103 per school. Congratulations. $103 per school. You want to know what the purpose of the amendment was? Let's read about it since everyone seemed to know. The purpose of the School Safety Disbursement Fund. The purpose of the grant program is to provide disbursements to local education providers and eligible nonprofit organizations to use for the purpose of improving security within public schools. Grant recipients may use the money received through the grant program for the following purposes: capital construction that improves the security of a public school facility or public school vehicle, including but not limited to any structure and installed hardware, device, or equipment that protects a public school facility or public school vehicle and the students, educators, and other individuals who attend, work in, or visit a public school facility or are transported in a public school vehicle from threats of physical harm, including but not limited to any structure or installed hardware, device, or equipment that prevents the entry of unauthorized individuals into a public school, can be used to expedite communication when a threat is present, training and student threat assessment for all school building staff who have contact with students. Probably would help with the seclusion bill too, to help kind of calm kids down, which must include best practices for conducting threat assessments, such as instruction on how to prevent bias when conducting a threat assessment, in collaboration with law enforcement agencies, providing the training for peace officers on interactions with students at school, school emergency response training for all school building staff for when people are having a mental health crisis, programs to help students become more resilient in meeting the daily programs they face without resorting to violence against themselves or others, developing and providing training program curriculums and seminars related to school safety, developing best practices and protocols related to school safety incident response. So this wasn't about SROs and metal detectors. The spending categories are as follows: capital construction, equipment, materials, training, and student education. That is what is listed under the School Security Disbursement Grant. This wasn't about my bill. This is about schools choosing what makes them safe. And a mad respect for you, because you and I talked this summer about making our schools safer and that this was a bipartisan solution. So I applaud you for standing by my side, because you've always wanted to make schools safer. I am disappointed, I am ashamed at what happened here on Thursday. I am disappointed that we legislate without providing real solutions to kids in school, and they will continue to pay the price for this. $40 billion budget, and we are telling school staff, teachers, and students that their safety is only valued at $103 per school. Shame on us.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in opposition to the budget. I think there's a lot of things that we could do differently in Colorado and fund differently. The priorities of a state or nation really are reflected in where you spend your money. It really shows our values. I do want to hit on one point in the budget. In our narrative, if you turn to page 19, looking at HICPUF's budget, the total funds that are being appropriated here are almost $16 billion. $16 billion is an interesting number. I just want to do a brief comparison. So Colorado, as a state, we have about 6 million people. If you look at the 16 billion and divide it out, the per capita spend coming through HICPUF would be $2,666. But that's not for every Coloradan, because 1 out of 4 are in Medicaid, and that's what HICPUF is spending money on. This is really disappointing to see, the high number that's here, because take that 2,666 number and actually multiply that by 4, and that actually gets the per person spend that we have on Medicaid. Compare this to a nation like Taiwan, that when we were looking at the Affordable Care Act, that was one of the 3 nations the United States was looking at. They have a single-payer healthcare system. They have a population of 24 million. Their total spend from their government on their national health insurance, which, by the way, is a single-payer health insurance, is $40 billion US dollars. So that'd be $1,666 per person there. You may say, well, the cost of living is so much more here. And that's true. That would reflect some things. But is it really, I mean, we're looking at almost $10,000 per year per person on Medicaid. And I can tell you that even from a place like Delta County, which is my home county, what we spend per year on some of the worst Medicaid patients actually doesn't hit that mark for those patients. I believe that there needs to be a long conversation on how we prioritize spending, for example, within this one department, but we could go department by department. We don't have enough time for that, and that's really the job of the Joint Budget Committee. But there are ways we could find more efficiencies throughout our budget. I'm just highlighting one element here that I believe we could certainly change how we reimburse doctors and physicians and actually see better access for Coloradans and better health care rather than just having one giant department. Who knows exactly where all the money is going? And I think that those are questions that we need to be asking as well as we're diving into the budget to look at more transparency. Because of this and numerous other reasons similar to this, I cannot support this budget, but do appreciate the good work of our Joint Budget Committee members in the long hours, because I definitely know you were there for late nights. A lot of times I was leaving committee and could still see the lights on in the JBC building. So thank you for your hard work.
Representative Hartsook.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Speaker. So the budget. We've had a lot of colleagues up here speaking. I will assume that most of us have a household budget. Some of us have a business budget. In that budget, we have to operate within our expenses and our income. If you're running a business and you can grow your business a few percentage each year, that's a pretty good thing. Yet our budget, since 2019 has been pointed out, has grown approximately 60%, from 26 billion to about 43 billion. 60%. And when I did business development, if anything that could grow 60% in business would be absolutely astounding. That would be great for business. From business's perspective, for government to grow 60%, probably not so much. Because the more government takes, the less business has the opportunity to access. On page 3 from the general funds, just a couple things that I highlighted was interesting. I looked at our revenue, 75%. What was really interesting, or not 75%, 2%. What was really interesting was regulatory agencies. The amount of money that we gave from the general fund has increased 75%. For what? Do we need 75% more regulations in the state? Do we need the state government telling us how to do our lives and our businesses 75% more than what we did last year? Really? Would you want somebody telling you 75% of the time of your life you need to do something different? But that's what the state government's doing, because that's what we put in the budget. Now, it's interesting, on education, we kind of did the opposite. We went the other direction, and out of the general fund, it dropped negative 0.5%. And a lot of that got made up for because of property taxes went through the roof. So locals, which would be taxpayers, not only get stuck with being managed by 75% more of their daily lives, they have less money going to the education. And they have to pay for that out of their property taxes. Human services went up about 19%. And during this whole time frame, inflation was approximately 5.2%. Now, I don't know about you, but between high school, college, and running a business, and running a government, when I was in DOD, running a government budget, those numbers are so out of whack, it's not even funny. If we've got the state budget growing by 60%, we got regulatory agencies in 1 year going up by over 75%. We have inflation at 5.2. We have education at negative 0.5. I mean, have you seen your income jump in a corresponding amount? Have you seen your pay raise? Not here at the government, because we haven't gotten much of one, but have you seen it in your business? Have you seen it in your pension? Have you seen it in your retirement? Have you seen it in your friends and relatives? Has their income gone up the amount of this budget? I think not. And yet we, in this chamber, this budget will pass, predominantly to the objection of our side, but it will pass. And taxpayers will get stuck with having to figure it out. Taxpayers and business owners will get stuck having to figure out how to fund it. Taxpayers will get stuck with everything that we pass through here. Regulations, increased budgeting, all of that. And what do they get? Not much in return. Not much at all. I would suggest that we relook how we are allocating this funding, this inflation, when you've got regulatory agencies and personnel skyrocketing and education less. I think that's out of whack. When we have the budget far and above what the inflation rate is and what people's income is, that's out of whack. I think we need to go back to our basic textbooks and learn how to do math again. I urge a no vote. Thank you.
Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's still an honor to serve with you.
And still an honor to serve with you.
Thank you, ma'am. Members, I came down this morning to talk about, over time I ended up being a Longhorn here. What I mean is that I've been here, we'll be finishing 8 years. When I came to the Capitol, I thought I was coming, I was going to talk about agriculture, I was going to talk about water, I was going to talk about home, I was going to talk about hospitals and schools and all of those things. And we have. But we've also been riding a tidal wave of willingness and eagerness to spend dollars without maybe thinking about what some of those ramifications might be. We live in the land of unintended consequences right here. Because when we throw that pebble into the pond, it makes ripples that go clear to the shore. And we've been throwing a bigger and bigger pebble into the pond since I got here. So one of the things that I'm trying to say is that sooner or later, and I would hope sooner, we will realize, as the state of Colorado, the brakes need to be put on the downhill slide. When I drive downhill, sometimes my pickup gets away from me, gets in front of me. It's going too fast. I have to apply the brakes, be able to get back into control of me driving down that long stretch of hill. I feel like that here. Good intentions are true. We've all got them. But what ends up being the consequences of good intentions? We get to the point that we're spending dollars when we just feeling like we spent those dollars last year, we need to spend those dollars this year, we need to continue and possibly even increase. You know, I sat through the COVID and all of the federal dollars were plugged into our budget, and they needed to be, I'll grant you. But we seem to have gotten used to those dollar figures without the federal dollars coming in. We're trying to generate that kind of budget. We should be, and I think we are, healing from that COVID, from those situations where we were even meeting over Zoom because we were afraid to be with one another. It cost a lot more money at that time, and I agree. But did we get used to spending that amount of money without thinking about where will we get it? Well, right now we're doing that, and we're ending up taking it out of household budgets. We hear all of the time about how it's costing more even for an Easter basket. I saw that yesterday on the news. Well, part of that is government spending. You know, out where I live and on the farm, one of the things that happened to us last year is we didn't have enough crop to be able to farm the way we had been farming. So, we had to cut way back. In fact, we may get to the point that we cut to the point where we don't farm that land, me and my family, and allow someone else to farm it for us. I use that as an example for you and I to think about. Will we be able to farm this farm? If the revenues are not there, what happens then? We have to go into an emergency of cutting. We've done that. We've tried to do that. You know, I'm not blaming the JBC. I thank them for all of the work that they do. I would not want that job. I'm glad you'll take it. And I recognize projections and saying how much we think we're going to need, but there is a time in our future, and I believe this, that we will have to start cutting some of the services and or the jobs that we have in the state of Colorado, working for the state of Colorado, in order for us to balance that budget again. So I'm raising just a red flag saying, be aware. Think about this as we go forward. We want our economy to thrive. We want the private sector to be able to carry this state. Government should not be a growth industry. Private sector should be the growth industry. Nothing I would like more than for agriculture to just grow and grow and grow, even though we are out there growing a crop, not the size of agriculture. So I'm bringing the voice of an old timer. Things don't continue to get better. There are ebbs and flows in everything. Are we on a flow or are we on an ebb? We need to think about that. We were elected to be the leaders of the state. We were the people that they sent up here to say, please take care of the state of Colorado for now and for the future. Please don't get used to a tidal wave, because sooner or later, they tail out too. We're going to leave the state of Colorado in very good hands. But we need to be thinking about the future of everyone. For that, I'm going to be a no today on 1430. Thank you.
Representative Evans.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank the JBC folks. I know they've been working on this for months and months and months, and they got one more day in the House of all of us coming down here and telling all of the issues and concerns we have with the labor of love that they've been putting together for, what, 6, 7 months, something like that. So I want to, first of all, just acknowledge them for being good sports about this and having 2 full, fun-filled days of all of us laying out some of our issues and concerns with it. And as my mom would say, whenever you say but, that means everything that you said before doesn't matter. So truly appreciate what the JBC's done, but I do have some concerns. We often talk about the budget being a moral document because the budget sets our priorities. It sets the direction that we want to emphasize, the direction and ultimately the coercive authority of the state. And so I rise today to lay out some concerns that I have with the budget and with the direction that I believe this budget is taking the state of Colorado. We've heard a lot of the data from some of my previous colleagues talking about the growth of government in the state of Colorado and how that growth really seems like it's outpacing everything else. Over the last 20 years, adjusted for inflation and per capita, government spending is up 28%. That's inflation and per capita, up 28%. The total spend of the government adjusted for inflation is up 57%. And where's that being used? Well, a lot of that is going, as we've heard before, to more regulatory burden, more red tape, more government interference with the free market, with everybody's day-to-day lives, oftentimes picking winners and losers. We talked about that at the very beginning of the budget, how several millions of dollars came from our hydrocarbon and our oil and gas sector. But unfortunately, through the budget, what we see is more picking of winners and losers, where we're bailing out the budget and balancing it on the backs of one industry, but then we're extending tax credits to other industries that are more favored. And I have a big problem whenever government picks winners and losers, and unfortunately, I think that we're doing that through our budget. I'm also worried about a comment that one of my other colleagues made, which was that government should not be the growth industry. That is the realm of the free market, the private sector, the folks that are actually out creating those jobs. And when we look at the budget, we look at the growth of that government, we look at the growth of the regulatory burden on our economy. Unfortunately, what I see is that we're headed in the wrong direction. Colorado is now the 12th most expensive state in the nation when it comes to doing business, creating jobs. And we're declining. That means getting more expensive. I think that ties back to the budget and the regulatory burden that is being funded through that budget. Same thing for cost of living. We're the 15th most expensive state in the nation for cost of living. That ties back to the budget. That ties back to the priorities and the regulations and the red tape that's being imposed through that growth of government ultimately funded by the budget. I think most of us are acutely aware of this one. We are the 4th most expensive state in the nation for housing affordability. Ties back to the budget. Again, to the red tape, the growth of government. We're the 6th worst state in the nation for public safety. I think my colleagues have talked at length about where the priorities seem to be or not be in the budget when it comes to public safety. And I could go on and on for a while, but these are just some of the concerns that I have about the budget, the priorities in the budget, the direction that the budget takes us. I think we should be focusing on issues that are important to everyday Coloradans. I'm proud of some of my colleagues from Boulder who ran an amendment to the budget talking about prioritizing a certain stretch of Highway 7. I represent that stretch, or that piece of Highway 7 immediately to the east of there. I think those are the things that we should be working on. I think those are the things where we can find that bipartisan common ground, which is why I thank my colleagues from Boulder who rose to bring attention to the fact that our roads are in desperate need of attention. So, in closing, I just want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. Just because a thing ought to be done doesn't mean that the government or government spending is the best entity to do that thing. I think we have a lot of common ground for the things that we want to accomplish. But unfortunately, I think that some of the hard conversations about how to accomplish those, I don't know that we got there with this particular iteration of the budget. And my last comment, it's actually not mine, it's from a individual who spent 20 years actually working in healthcare for low-income folks. And he had an observation, and that observation was that one does not pay an ever-increasing amount of one's salary to the government in order to then turn around and take personal responsibility for one's community. And I'm concerned that as we continue to grow that budget, grow government, ultimately what we're actually doing is removing a lot of folks' incentive for them to be personally involved and engaged in their community. Because as government grows, the assumption is that, oh, well, government will do it. That's why I pay my taxes and my fees and all the other random ways that the government finds to get their ever-increasing cut. And so, unfortunately, I can't vote for this budget. I rise in opposition to it, and I urge a no vote. Thank you for your time.
Representative Bottoms.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I really do, my heart does go out to these three people sitting here, especially on our side, because we have been harassing him. But I do think there's a fundamental difference in philosophy here. Why our side seems to be almost unanimous against a lot of this is because of a philosophical difference. A lot of my education background is anthropological in focus, and so I study people and people groups. That's what I've done for years. And why the people do what they do, why a person does what they do. This is where I've been processing this, not just this budget, but this room, and why we do the things we do. What is the motivation? So just taking everything, you can just start with the budget and the orbitals, and a lot of people have been talking about this. What is the priority behind these? I think that's important to process, but really in the bigger picture, what is the priority with all bills? And the way I process this is just go down the line per bill. Is this good or bad for, and put whatever category. Is this good or bad for children, adults, finances, business, the state, all these different kind of things. And from my perspective, I've been watching us do a lot of things that are very harmful to all categories, every single category. And so then you have to ask, why is that happening? That can't just be accidental. When you come to the budget and you start processing down through the budget, asking some of those same questions, who is harmed, who is benefited, these kind of things. And it dawned on me because not in every single bill, there's not a person or a group that benefits per se, but there is always going to be a benefit and a negative. So what is benefiting? And then it kind of clicked for me. And this is, I think, one of the major philosophical differences. I actually see this even more as a spiritual difference. I think there is a major difference in the way we perceive the understanding of who government is and what government's role is and what is being provided by that. I don't see the government as my provider. I don't see the government as my source. In fact, my focus is there needs to always be less government. It doesn't matter where you can drop down into any situation. Less government is my opinion of the best idea. We have almost and I think of an unhealthy approach to the fact that government is our big pie in the sky mentality. That government is our provider, and so we're going to make sure we make all these laws and all these things that basically force people into places, into cubbyholes, financially, relationally, parentally, all kinds of things, and then we back that up with money, so that people become dependent upon the state, upon the government, and I think that's part of the problem. If you really, really believe that the government is your all in all, your provision, then yeah, keep funding this thing. And I think that's where the bigger separation is. I think most of the people on our side do not believe the government is the big daddy in the sky. We don't think that. We don't think that everything should be provided by government. In fact, we think that that's a hindrance to you. That the more you have to depend upon the government, the more that you're not depending upon other things. From my perspective, you're not dependent upon yourself. You're depending upon somebody to give you something or to hand you something. Well, how are we going to fund that? Well, we'll just fund that through the taxpayers. That's a house of cards that's going to fall. You can't do that forever. Every country that's ever tried it failed. We've seen this. Well, I also don't believe that the government is my supplier. I think on a religious basis. I look to God for these things, not to the government. All of this kind of stuff. And this is why if you go down the list of stuff financially, you can go down it also ideologically. I believe that the government is not the parent. I believe the government is not the decider. The government is not the provider. The government is not the controller. But all of these things contribute to that, and we have to back it up financially. Even some of the bills we've talked about that, well, we're going to give incentives for this. Why do we have to give incentives? Because people aren't going to do it naturally. We're basically bribing people to do things. That's not healthy. Well, then we have to back it up by the taxpayer. So the taxpayer is paying for things that they have no desire for, have no conscience for, have no and oftentimes stand against these things. But we're saying, nope, we'll just keep funding this and funding this. This thing is going to crash. This thing is going to crash. Colorado cannot continue to sustain this. And then we hear, and I know one of my colleagues said this a little bit earlier, then we hear that the desire from the governor's office is that the public sector be the largest employer. That's the opposite. That's the opposite of how something becomes beneficial, how something becomes productive. The government produces nothing. Federal level, state level, produces nothing. All it does is take. And that's a dangerous road that we have been walking down. We're continuing to walk down this, and it's gonna destroy us. The government is not the all in all. It is actually the danger, and we've got to be able to somehow open our eyes and see that.
Representative Armagost.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to speak on, obviously in opposition to the long bill, but in essence of things that we thought were appropriate to direct money to and take money from versus things that we were not. Obviously, the vast majority of orbital amendments aren't going to get approved. But for the ones that did, and in particular, the one that I spoke on the other day with my colleague from Douglas County and her bipartisan amendment, that one struck a nerve with me. And the fact that the things that we did allot money toward versus something like that, when it comes to school security, when it comes to simple things that require money that schools can do. And some schools are able to do it, other schools are not because of money. And when we're talking about $2 million, that's not going to do that much statewide, but it is going to supplement those schools that need that help to get things. I think we come from two districts that have very good things. The strange thing, my district, Larimer County, and Thompson School District, you with Douglas County, both of those counties are the only two in the state right now that have youth crisis response teams with the school district associated with the local sheriff's office. They're modeling that for the state because they have funding to do that. They're able to get the personnel that they need to do that. It is a great program. It allows kids to have access to a co-responder instead of a deputy that would respond to a critical incident. That is something that we always speak on in this chamber. That's something, school safety and co-responders, talking about equity when we're talking about schools that are less fortunate and don't have the money that they could utilize for that type of a program, is shameful that is something that we came in a strange and disgusting manner of voting down, but that's what got voted down. And that's where we are now. And that's why I'm up here again, pointing out the fact that those people that were in green on that board after that vote said no to their school districts and their sheriff's offices. Overall, their school districts to choose how they want to use that money to better secure their school, to make their kids safer. And it got voted down. So the fact that we're still up here debating on all the things that we did want money to go to, and that was something that was chosen as a thing to direct $2 million to, but in a different manner came back around and said no. So we're here voting, and it's going to pass. The long bill will pass, but things like that happen, and that needs to be remembered. I think not only in this body, but outside of this building, people need to remember there are things like that that we could have spent money on. We could have done something for our school safety in this state, substantially, especially for those schools that need the money to do it. When we're talking about the same things every day in this building, in committees, and on this floor, in this well, we're talking about school safety, we're talking about equity, we're talking about putting resources into helping our kids feel safe. And then that, talking out of our posterior, apparently. We are not doing what we need to do to affect and make the changes that we are talking about making when you do the exact opposite of what you say you want to do. We as a body are embarrassing ourselves. So that's the optics that we're putting out with this bill. I'm a no vote, and I encourage a no vote.
Representative DeGraff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to throw in my last minute here something from my father-in-law, which would be if something cannot go on forever, it won't. And my colleague alluded to that. The growth industries that we have are the government. We're pushing our jobs overseas.
Representative DeGraff, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. And we're turning our other growth industries in death and mutilation tourism. Now, with my other colleague, I disagree that there are no unintended consequences with these bills, just unstated agendas. Because if the outcome is obvious, and they are, then the intent is inferred. So we have lots of good intentions for the greater good, but the historical analysis shows that for the greater good never is. Right now, with these agendas, we're building a housing bubble while pricing out houses, making it unaffordable for a single family to live in single family sanity.
Representative DeGraff, to the long bill, please.
Thank you, ma'am. We get back, if the good intention was a good idea, it wouldn't need a gun. And this bill, this long bill, is full of good
Representative
intentions.
DeGraff, your time has expired. Representative Luck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I'm going to start with a story of my little one because that is top of mind for me right now. It is an analogy to the budget, so it is to the bill. My little guy, since he was born, does not like to be burped. He doesn't like that pat, pat, pat on his back. He recoils at it. And as a mom, recognizing that he's uncomfortable with that, it grieves me. And so I move from the shoulder to the leg. Then, you know, if you guys are parents or have been around kids, you know you can put them on your knee and bend them over a little bit and burp them that way. And he seemed to like that a little bit better. But I discovered a few weeks ago, he's only in his second, he's 2 months old. I discovered a couple of weeks ago that he will burp himself. If you give him the opportunity, before you go for that first pat, he'll just do it. And so now I set him down and I say, okay, Micaiah, I need a burp. And if you give him about 10 or 20 seconds, sometimes there's a grunt or two beforehand, right? As he's trying to conjure up a burp, he will burp. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. Why is that relevant to the budget? Well, you see, in our state constitution, the founding generation put in Article 5, Section 34, a note about how the state was not to fund anything educational, charitable, beneficial, industrial, that was outside the realm and control, absolute control of the state. And why did they do that? Well, for the same reason in many ways that I allow my little guy to burp himself. You see, there was an understanding that the government didn't need to do all of the things for all of the people. And that actually to do all of the things for all of the people created more harm and caused many of folks to recoil, like my little guy recoils. It doesn't allow for the people to grow up fully. It enables them in many ways to stay infants. Given the opportunity, the people of Colorado will rise to the occasion. I know that each and every one of us have constituents who call and say, there is a need right here. Let me identify this need in our community. My notorious litmus test that I go through as I analyze bill, the very first question is this the role of government? Is this the role of government? And I fear that that is the question that kills many a bill for me. Because there are a lot of ideas that come across the desks here that I think would be wonderful taken on by a non-governmental entity, solely by a non-governmental entity. Why? Because it does enable for additional life. There is a group that I help to advise in my district, and they see the affordable housing crisis and they want to do something. And so they're looking at buying property, they're looking at building tiny houses, they're looking at involving students who have taken a CAD program at their high school to create the designs for it. They're looking at bringing in some of the local developers to help build it. They're not looking in any way, shape, or form to use government funding. And in doing so, they're bringing a vibrancy to their particular community that wasn't there before. And that's my concern with this budget, is that oftentimes we see good ideas and we're responding to needs that our constituents are bringing to us. We're just doing it through a mechanism, through an institution that's not really designed for that. The government wasn't designed for that. That's not the purpose. It doesn't make those ideas bad. It doesn't make those initiatives bad. It doesn't make those problems less worthy to be solved. It just says that that's not the best way to solve it. I'd much rather have my little guy burp himself, avoid me patting him on the back, and grow into that, because ultimately I'm not going to be there when he's 18 years old and needs to burp and be burping him, right? Ultimately, he has to learn that. So the sooner he can, the better off we're all going to be. In the same way, the people of Colorado have problems that they themselves need to be empowered to solve without the structures, without the supports of the government. We should be looking for ways to release them into that, to empower them in that regard. And yet what we actually find ourselves doing more and more, and the budget dollars reflect that, is solving the problems for them. I listened very intently to the long bill discussion, and there were statements made even by the bill sponsors of how we don't have money to fund this. These are great ideas, but we don't have the money to do this. We can't cover this full thing. Let's look elsewhere, or we're just not going to be able to do it, including areas where the government has the sole responsibility, like the Office of the Public Defender, where we should be supporting and paying for all of the necessary staff that they have, but we can't in this budget. We can't actually even satisfy the role that we are responsible for because we're so concerned about solving the problems that we're not responsible for, not as a government. We have the blessing of being a citizen legislature, which allows us to be here for 4 months of the year and then to be in our districts for the other 8 months. In those other 8 months, we have the ability to sit down when people bring us a problem and say, okay, I can't help you solve that with a bill, but I can help you problem solve that through these other community supports, through what I call institutional pluralism, bringing in the other institutions of society. And so often when those other institutions step up and do the job that they are responsible for doing, all of these other ancillary problems disappear. But when we, the government, step up to do those things, all we end up doing is helping our people realize that they don't have to do even what they were doing before, that they don't have to give eye, they don't have to give attention to the needs of those around them, that they don't have to solve it, they can rely on us. I don't want to create that kind of a community. This is really a question of what kind of state, what kind of communities do we want to create? Do I want to see people have adequate health care? Absolutely. Do I want to see everyone educated to the highest level possible? Without a doubt. Do I want them to have roofs over their heads, clean air to breathe, clean water to drink? Yes, all of these things are without question. The questions become, who's responsible for getting there? Who's responsible for doing that? This long bill represents the idea that this institution is the responsible party, and I reject that. As I said during the special session, when we take on these roles, we break down the relationships. We lead into the type of unhealth that we're always up here trying to guard against. We're wanting people to feel loved and to belong. We're wanting people to not have a reason to pursue suicide. We're wanting people to feel safe and secure in their communities. That happens when the community itself is empowered with a project. I've seen it. I live in a town of 4,000 people, half of which live below the poverty line. It's not even a question of money. When they have a goal, and they are rallied around that goal, the community comes to life. They have stuff to talk about at the local coffee shop every morning. I feel and believe that when the government steps in, it kills that life. It removes that hope. It removes that energy. And it leads people to think there's really nothing to do out there. I might as well play games on my computer or just stay in my home.
Representative Luck, you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My constituents are like my little boy. They don't want to be burped. They want to be given the freedom to burp themselves. They don't want this body to continue to make decisions for them and to continue to live their life for them and to continue to spend their money for them. They want to do it on their own, even if that means they make tons of mistakes in the process and spit up and do all of the things. They want that. I ask this body to give them, afford them that freedom. Thank you.
Assistant Minority Leader Winter.
Good morning, Madam Speaker.
Good morning.
Good morning, colleagues. In my opinion, I think the long bill is probably the most important thing we do as state legislators. I know we all work hard stakeholdering our bills all summer, talking to constituents, but at the end of the day, this is probably the most important thing we do. I wish we spent a little bit more time on it. I think, this is the point where we decide how much money's in the budget and where everybody wants to spend it. But I think one thing that we need to do, and I'm reminded all the time in my district, because you all know me, when I come up here and I speak from the experience of my constituents, I very seldom try to say I when I speak about these things. And a comment that was made to me this weekend, I went into a meet-in event in Ordway, and they asked if we're using monopoly money here. And that really stuck in my brain, because we have to realize whose money we're spending. We're spending the people's money. And being at this meet-in day, they talk about the cost of doing business. That tends to be the thing, especially in the cattle industry, is the cost of inputs and the cost of doing business. And as we look at these constituents, and they all say that, the middle class is what supports the nation, what supports the state is they feel like it's just too much on their back. They talk about high inflation. They talk about higher energy costs, and the list goes on. We debate these topics in the building all the time. But what makes it hard for my constituents is they watch the way we spend our money, but they look at how we go about spending the money and what we take it from. And they believe that we create problems that cause us to spend this money. When I talk to my constituents about energy, they say, energy could be cheaper in the state of Colorado. They see that being a direct, I guess more of a self-inflicted type of wound. And it makes it hard for them, because these are people that I think that they're very common sense with money. And I think that these are people that have to make money go a long way, especially in rural districts. I don't think that, I vehemently fight for my constituents, but I really don't think if many of you could sit around a kitchen table with farmers and ranchers and see how they talk about money and what they have to do to survive, because the costs keep getting higher, profits keep getting lower, middleman keeps making more. And these are people that have to tighten their belt every day. And what's hard for them is we spend and we spend and we spend their money, and we ask for more. And if they can't get enough taxes, all they talk about is the fees that get added onto everything. More and more fees. And it's just one more hit to their pocket. It makes it harder and harder for them to survive. And I'll tell you this much, I'm not here trying to paint a sad story of House District 47, because the good people of House District 47 are hardworking, they're tough, they're resilient, they're rugged, they're salt-of-the-earth individuals. And these are people generationally who have had to tighten their belts over and over and over again. And they're a group of people that just don't understand, while they're tightening their belts, why government don't have to. And they know that we're a position we're in my side of the aisle. We know we're in a super minority, but they feel like they're being taxed without representation. They feel like their voices aren't being heard. They feel like they can't keep it up. And nothing's worse than sitting in a room with generational farmers and ranchers who are sitting around trying to figure out how to keep that family business going. From Lamar, Colorado, to Los Animas County, Colorado, to the good people of small business owners in Pueblo, Colorado, the landlords. I talk to these people constantly. I make it a point. This summer, 9,000 miles. I go back over and over and over again. And the one thing that they ask me is we are tired of doing more with less. I talk to my sheriffs. They are tired of doing more with less. I talk to my county commissioners, and they are tired of doing more with less. And they are tired of what they say, watching us shoot ourselves in the foot by going after industry that helps support this state. And they want to know, at what point is it going to stop? And at what point, where are we going to get the money? Because I know there's a lot of things that we do in this building that makes us feel good. But at the end of the day, if you want to keep spending money like this, where's it going to come from? If you kill industry that puts money in there, and you tax the producer and the people that produce the money in the tax base to death, you hit them with fees to make it to where their business is not even attainable and runnable anymore, where is the money going to come from? And I think that's a real question that we should talk about in here. The good representative from Montrose touched on that. I mean, where is the money going to come from? At what point are we going to realize that the money's not there? I don't have to tighten my belt with my family. There's a lot of vacations I'd like to go on, a lot of things I can't do, but the budget just don't call for it. And I know there's people in this chamber on both sides that have to tighten their belt. And we do it to survive at home. And everybody in here knows what I'm talking about. There isn't one individual in this building that doesn't have to make tough decisions when it comes to the end of the month. We've got to bring that in here too, though, folks. The same thing we do at home applies here. People want to see what their money is doing. And we represent different parts of the state, and I know that. But not everybody's on board with all of this agenda. And there's a lot of people in my district that are sitting waiting for that straw, that last straw that breaks the camel's back. And when I was elected to represent these people, I told them I'd come up here and fight fiercely for them, and I would tell the story of rural Colorado and House District 47, and I think I do that every single day. And on behalf of House District 47, the mothers and fathers, the business owners, the ranchers, the farmers, the renters, the landlords, everybody, I'm going to have to vote no on this because I do not believe we're tightening our belt. I don't believe we're tightening our belt like everyone in here tightens it at home. I think we're growing government at way too fast a pace. I think the good representative from Penrose gave some pretty good examples of how a community can come together. And I don't think that, I think what she said would be good for us to take back in our district this summer because I think there's times as legislators that maybe we look at bills and government as the easy way to fix things, but we also talk about building community, and she made some very valid points that I'm going to take to heart, that when I go out in the district this summer that I'm going to do, and that's try to build community. Because one thing about Americans is we're resilient. We've proven it over and over and over again. We've been through some of the worst times in the history of this world. We've wronged or righted more wrongs than probably any nation in the world, and we're growing every single day. But the thing that scares me about growing this budget and the thing that scares me about growing government is we are taking that resiliency away. The thing that made us the best and the thing that keeps us being the best. So for those reasons, I will have to be a no vote today. Thank you.
Assistant Majority Leader Bacon.
Thank you, colleagues, and thank you, members. I know it's been a long conversation. Also, thank you for letting me interject between folks as we wrap up here. I didn't want to come down and talk today, but I heard a few things that I will reflect upon as I vote. And I hope that maybe you might too, or if anyone is actually watching or listening, that they hear some of these things as well. I'm grateful to hear from my colleagues, to learn from them how they view our document, even how they view the role of government. One of the pleasures of being in a room with 65 people is that all of our heads get to be put together to hopefully come up with the best ideas. And so to hear from our colleagues on what motivates them or what's important to their communities is incredibly valuable. I'm also grateful for the chance to think about what it is that we are funding here. You know, sometimes I walk around this building and have to remind people on different floors or in some buildings across the street that there are 3 branches of government. In this branch, our job is to decide what we spend money on. I'm sure some of us feel like saying that to a lot of people. Maybe not on this floor. I said it, okay? But I think that, all this does is reinforce the notion that this budget is, it does have tinges and it does reflect our values and our beliefs. And so I'm grateful to hear the differences in those, but I just want to be clear on what mine are and what the values and beliefs are of many of my colleagues. I heard a few things that I thought it would be worth coming down to share, that at least one person might say in defense of some of our actions and what we are funding, just in case anybody is listening, but also more importantly, so we can help set some expectations on how we talk about and to each other. I don't ever want to be told that my values on equity come out of my posterior, because they do not. And the budget that we have posted in front of us put some very real things on the table to help people regardless of their background, but actually to help people catch up to that American dream. We put in this budget funding for higher education. We put in this budget, we fought over paying nurses. We put in this budget paying for food for children because the state said that's a priority for us. The things that we bring forward matter to each of us, but to be clear, I believe, even though we had to work it out amongst ourselves and we got some really great ideas and adjustments, that this budget actually does reflect the best of us. Our state is also unique. We didn't hear about one unique perspective of our state. We are capped in our spending. Perhaps, I know how people feel about that, okay. But how many times have we had conversations about being able to pay our teachers? And we're doing the best that we can given the growth and given what it is that we need to do to be sure people can prosper here. And I love that communities want to figure it out on how to build. But let's be honest about where is some of that financing going to come from? We need to think about these things in a way that could be open and critical for all of us. And to be clear, I will never be ashamed of myself for defining safety differently. I will never be ashamed of myself to say that perhaps we should be able to breathe after industry gets what they need. Yes, they provide jobs. Yes, they need to care about their equity and their shareholders. But I will not be ashamed for saying it is my job as the government to keep people safe. And so for all that we've talked about today, I'm always grateful for the debate and the ideas, but I will also not call anyone to shame for standing up for their communities, nor say to them they're not talking from a place that is genuine. And so I know we have more speakers here to tell you about how it was difficult to balance this budget. But when I vote, I am more than willing and happy to stand up for what I voted for. You will find no shame, and when I speak about it, including equity, including healthy air, including food to bellies, I will be saying it from my mouth and my heart. So thank you all for always being a steward. But we also have stewardship responsibilities to each other that I would hope. And so maybe I'm speaking not just for myself, but for others. There are many of us who will be voting for this budget for our communities. Thank you for the opportunity.
Minority Leader Puglisi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to our JBC member, all the JBC members. I kind of envy your job, so I can't say that your job's not envious to me, but I do think you've done a great job considering how hard it is and what a tough budget cycle this is going to be. So thank you for the work you've done. I also want to thank JBC staff who really has worked hard to try to understand our priorities and encapsulate that in almost 100 amendments to the budget. So I do want to thank them. I know they've had a lot of sleepless nights. I know the night before we discussed budget on seconds, I was still texting and emailing my drafter on some of my amendments very late at night. So I do appreciate them as well. I want to echo some of the sentiments that I've heard today. The budget is the most important policy document we are going to put forward this year. It is our priorities as a state, the things that should be funded, and we can disagree about what should and should not be funded. I think those conversations are good and healthy conversations for the chamber to have. And I'll talk a little bit about process in a minute, but I do want to talk about some of the bipartisan amendments that came forward that were good for education and seniors and veterans and nurses, and that's good work that we all did together. There are obviously places I wish we had a little bit more money for, higher ed. The provider rate, I'm really personally wish there was maybe some more opportunity in the budget to work through that. And of course, for the majority leader and myself, not that I'm speaking for her, but our amendment on victim assistance, I wish we could have gotten more money to fill in the void that we're not getting from VOCA funds from the federal government. Obviously, opportunities for us in the future, and placeholders, I hope, where we can continue to have these really important conversations. There's definitely some conversations I'd like to have that I know are bipartisan. We have at least, I'm still a freshman, but for the last 2 budget cycles, we have talked about concerns on both sides of the aisle with DOC. And yet, I hope, irrespective of the 3 JBC members, that maybe as a chamber, there are certain members who are very engaged in that discussion, that maybe we can have some discussions for the next budget cycle, so that maybe we can address some of the concerns that we continue to raise piecemeal, but I feel like might be a bigger opportunity. So I'm going to put a placeholder on the budget on that. When I was a county commissioner, I know I talk a lot, we all come from this as, from our lived experiences. Part of the reason I like budgets so much is I was in charge. And there were 3 commissioners, in fairness, but I got to do the budget. I was in the majority, so even though there were 3 of us from the same party, doesn't mean we always agreed, but they deferred to me a lot, which was nice. But I got to sit down with departments and negotiate budgets and decide what the priorities were with the input of my commissioners, of course. But and I enjoyed that work. I think it was incredibly challenging and intellectually stimulating for me personally. And I used to say, I never thought I was going to come to the legislature, to be honest, but I always said if I ever came to the legislature, I wish I could impart some of what I've learned through that process on the state. And I know it's a little bit different, but as my friend the mayor can attest to, or my other friend the mayor, or lots of former city council men and women in this room, the budget's hard. It's a lot of really good, hard work to prioritize and find the money for what you need. But one of the things I would like to also put a placeholder on going forward, and would love to have these conversations, not just with JBC members, although you're a very important part of these conversations, but with other members of this chamber. There are 65 of us. Is to talk about something I did in Mesa County. I had tried to bring this forward this year, and in fairness to our JBC members, because of the amount of work it would have created for them for me to bring this budget amendment, I chose not to. But I do want to take this opportunity to talk about how I found money. And I think it's important for this chamber, especially as we continue to go through tough times, potentially. And so I had created a policy. Let me step back. So as we were dealing with our budget, oil and gas had pulled out due to regulations that were prior to any of us here. And we were very heavy, we were the hub of the energy industry. And so it was incredibly difficult because we basically went from a lot of money to no money in a very short amount of time. And I had gotten elected during that transition. And we were literally laying off. Now, this was a priority for us, so just throw that out there. But we were laying off sheriff's deputies, but we were funding statues and things that weren't important, at least not in my mind, not to my constituents. And so reprioritizing the budget was really important. And what we chose to do, we did a couple of different things, but the thing I would like to talk about today is we had this policy that I started that said we could not fund new FTEs, full-time employees, until all of the existing full-time employees were filled. And the reason we did that was to make sure that all those departments were fully utilizing the funding that they had before they asked for new funding. I do see opportunities in the budget going forward, and I want to pin it now because I wish we had more time to do that today, but I do see opportunities going forward where we could potentially do something like that. And I would love to have those conversations again, not just with JBC members, but anybody else that would really love to delve into that. And we could start with DOC. So I think that there's opportunities there. I do wish, as county commissioners, we have a lot more time with our budget. And I know we have our JBC members who work generally year-round on this. But we do have more time to digest the budget. I know there was some frustration from a few of us about our amendments and how they weren't quite the way our head had envisioned them on paper, and everything is happening so quickly. And so I do think that there's some opportunities to also talk about our process and improving it, because just because it's the way we've always done it doesn't mean it's the way we have to do it going forward. So with that, unfortunately, I will be a no vote on the budget, but not because of the hard work we all did to bring budget amendments forward. I do wish and would love to understand more of the dialogue around school safety and different perspectives that I didn't have. But I do think that we did genuinely work in good faith to bring forward amendments that were important to this chamber. I think we had a lot of great bipartisan work here. Really appreciate the JBC members and what they brought forward. And look forward to continuing the conversation around budget going forward. Thank you.
Representative Taggart?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's an honor and a privilege to work with you.
It is an honor and privilege to work with you.
One of the things I try to teach seniors and graduate students and teach on a continual basis for managers and leaders that have worked with me over the years is to make sure you get to the core problem as compared to the symptoms. As we look at this budget, a number that should have jumped off to all of us was that 67% of the increase is in two departments. And it has to do with our underserved populations across this state. It represents over $700 million of the $1.1 billion increase. Let that sink in for a second. 700 plus million of this $1.1 billion increase has to do with those two departments for our underserved population. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a symptom. And that symptom is going to get worse and worse. And I'm proud to say this budget approached that symptom. We put $105 million more into higher education. Why? Because 70% plus of the jobs of the 21st century in the state of Colorado are going to require some form of certificate or degree or license that comes by way of higher education. If we're going to solve the symptom, we need to provide more of the people of Colorado with the opportunity to pull themselves out of poverty. I'm proud of what we did there. I'm proud of the fact that I had the ability to ask you folks, along with the assistant majority leader, for first-generation students. There's another bill coming on this subject that I have the opportunity to work with the chair of the Joint Budget Committee on. It'll come before us in the Education Committee on Thursday. So while we criticize a budget, I'm here to say that symptom of $700 million, which if I added judicial to it and I added Department of Corrections, we're over 90%. If we are going to solve those core symptoms, we have to invest in our people, and we have to give them the opportunity to get certificates, licenses, 2-year degrees, 4-year degrees onward. That is the only way that I know of that we can bring down that core symptom. So yes, did we do everything? The folks that I work with on a daily basis, the mighty 19? No, excuse my language, hell no. But I'm immensely proud at how hard we worked at this, and immensely proud that we were able to carve out critical money for higher education to help all of Colorado. Not folks like me that had the fortune of coming up through a family that it just wasn't an issue. I was going to college and I was going to graduate school. That was the end of it. I wish on all Coloradans that same opportunity, and I will fight like hell to continue to invest in education and higher education. Thank you.
Representative Sirota.
Good afternoon, members. I want to offer that this budget is not just a collection of numbers and tables. It represents and reflects our priorities, our values, and our aspirations as a state. Let us remember that every dollar we spend has the potential to make a difference in someone's life. It is our responsibility to ensure that these funds are allocated wisely and equitably, addressing the needs of all Coloradans. Budgetary decisions should not be taken lightly. We didn't. They require careful consideration, collaboration, and hopefully some foresight. As we spent months delving into the details of the budget, we considered not only the present, but also of the future generations who will inherit the consequences of our actions. That is why I am so proud of our investments in education, from early childhood education to K-12 to higher ed. Your budget committee recognizes that education is critical to unlocking opportunities and empowering individuals. With our investments in education, we not only equip our youth with the knowledge and tools they need to succeed, but we also foster a culture of continuous learning for all Coloradans. We're increasing K-12 funding by over $500 million, fully funding special education and providing for school-based mental health supports. We've increased our investments in higher ed by over $140 million, including scholarships for students who have experienced homelessness, all while keeping tuition increases below the rate of inflation. And we're continuing universal access to the Healthy School Meals for All program, because no child should go hungry while in our care. We're making significant investments in health care, behavioral health support, and community health centers. We're reducing the wait list by 129 placements for services for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We're ensuring that Medicaid patients are able to receive the substance use treatment and behavioral health services they need to recover without being discharged prematurely because of perverse billing incentives. And we're investing in our home care workers, who will receive wage increases and for whom we are reducing the wage gap between Denver and the rest of the state. I'm especially proud of our investments in public health, both in our local public health departments and at the state level. We have witnessed in recent years public health crises that can have far-reaching impacts on individuals, communities, and economies. The investments in public health infrastructure, healthcare services, and disease prevention throughout this budget will not only mitigate immediate risks, but also build a foundation for long-term health and stability in Colorado. I'm just skimming the surface of the good things included in this state budget. You can come find me later and I'll bend your ear about all the rest I don't have time to highlight right now. I'll just conclude by saying we are so fortunate for all of the nonpartisan and bipartisan collaboration that went into the months of toil in the creation of this budget. This is a moral document that you can feel proud of. This is a budget for all our communities, urban, suburban, and rural. We are investing in our children, our health, our environment, and our workforce. We are investing in the people who make Colorado run through investments in our state workforce and our community providers. I'm proud to be a Coloradan. I'm proud of this budget, and I'm proud to vote yes. I hope you are too.
Representative Byrd.
So, members, it's just been my honor to be able to be in a role to do the work that is the budget. We've been talking about this a lot. And fundamentally, though, I don't want any one of us to lose sight of the fact that we come here to govern. We have a responsibility to govern. And at the end of the day, the budget is about how we fund governance in the state of Colorado. I take that responsibility seriously. I know that there are compromises that are made. This document filled with spending will benefit constituents all across our state in every single one of our districts. I caution against a no vote because a no vote means that you are defunding services that all of our constituents depend upon, not just urban constituents, not just my good constituents in Jefferson and Adams County, but all across the state of Colorado. It's not just my constituents who depend upon the education investments, the human services investments, child welfare, health care, all of these things, all of our kids, all of our families, our neighbors, we have people in communities depending on all of these services. I want to assure my good colleagues who have expressed reservations about the budget, we did not overspend. We weren't able to because and appropriately so. We shouldn't be spending all the money. The money should be in taxpayers' pockets, out there deployed for the benefit of their families and their own communities and local economies. But we were thoughtful. Not every problem can be solved by a conversation in the local coffee shop. We know that. Our country has tried this. We've seen what happened. Well, we didn't live through this, but my family lived through the Great Depression. We know what our country looks like when we have no social safety net, when government hasn't done what it is responsibly tasked with doing, which I believe we have taken that responsibility seriously in Colorado. And I'm certain that you all know we weren't able to do everything. Money is limited, and that's evidenced by the fact that there were over $100 million in amendments offered by many of our good colleagues saying they are going to vote no on the budget. $100 million that we couldn't afford to add to the long bill. So please know that this isn't a big spend-a-thon. It's not, because we can't. But I do, with all of that being said, want to thank you for your commentary, your participation in a robust conversation on Thursday. For most people, when we speak of budgets, we think of accounting and we think of number crunching and big documents like this, which I'm sure everybody has taken home and you've memorized all your line items. But like my good colleague from Denver, I'd like to remind you of another perspective, that a budget is in fact not just a collection of numbers, but it's rather an expression of the things we value, and it's a blueprint for all of the aspirations that we hope to achieve as a state. Our state overflows with natural beauty and precious natural resources that are unique to Colorado, members. But that said, I also think that few people would disagree with the idea that our state's greatest natural resource is its people. It's our people who work to protect all that we value in Colorado, who grow our food, they keep our communities safe, they teach our children, they defend our rights, cultivate, preserve our natural resources, they care for us when we're sick, and who build our roads and lead in our communities. For all of these reasons, it is our budget that works hard to invest in so much of this and invests in our people. We know that our state cannot and should not be solving every problem, of course not. But there are places where the people we represent expect us to prioritize investment of taxpayer dollars. They send us here to do that work, not just to say, no more, it's too big, I throw up my hands, we're not going to make these investments. I believe our budget achieves this. Because we've already debated the budget, of course I'm not going to go through everything, but I am going to highlight a few parts that I hope you'll remember, and you're going to see, or rather hear, a common theme here, because this is a bipartisan document. It wasn't collaborated on just by one side of the aisle. I feel most proud of this because this was a bipartisan collaboration and want the people of Colorado to know that. And it gives me such faith in our government that I know we are able to roll up our sleeves and do the hard work to make important things happen for good people in our state. Members, this is the first budget since 2010 where our state fully complies with the Constitution as amended by Amendment 23 and fully funds K-12 public education. This means that we will be investing on a per-pupil basis at the highest level ever. And for those who want to say, money doesn't matter, why do we keep talking about it? You know, we understand that funds make the public sector run. We understand that our best private ventures need enough money to make the wheels go round and to hire talented people to do the work. It is the same with our public schools. Our kids deserve no less. Our investment increases our state's commitment to public education by over $500 million. Again, for the first time this year, we will be fully funding special education and increasing our investment in English language education by over 10%. And members, we know that people don't stop learning when they graduate from high school. Our state is blessed with incredible universities and colleges that do the work every day to open doors of opportunity to so many good people in our state. And to open these doors up a little bit wider so that more families can send their kids to school in-state in Colorado, we invested in higher education. Our state must be a place where higher education is accessible to all of us, not just the families who can afford it, and also not just for the families who already qualify for other assistance, but for middle-class families who too often don't receive assistance. We want to make higher ed affordable for your families and your kids. We also want to do our part to rein in student debt so that people aren't mortgaging their futures to be able to get ahead in life. To that end, our budget holds tuition increases to no more than 3%, which is well below the rate of inflation, and also increases investment in college financial aid by over 10%. To make this possible, our universities received an overall increase in state support by 10%, with our special rural access institutions, Adams, Western, and Fort Lewis, receiving over between 19 and 22% increases in support, because we know how important access to higher education is, not just to students on the Front Range, but all over our state. For our agricultural community members, our budget includes supports to help grow our state's next generation of farmers and ranchers. We increase investment in agricultural emergency preparedness and management services. For the Department of Corrections, we've added funding to attract and retain corrections officers, nurses, teachers, social workers. Because we recognize DOC's role in reducing recidivism, this budget invests in inmate job training programs so that when people come out of the correction system, they will have relevant job skills, and that will enable them to reintegrate into society successfully. Recognizing the importance of Colorado's outdoor recreation economy and valuing the concept of commerce and conservation, this budget continues our state's investment in the Office of Outdoor Recreation. It includes investment in small businesses to help our state draw down additional federal funds. And I do want to make a point about this. Our state is one of those donor states where we pay more in federal taxes than we draw back down from the federal government. It's my contention we should be doing our part to bring our tax dollars back home and invest them in the good people of Colorado rather than having them be left to send off to other states. Why not bring them to Colorado? And because we value both urban and rural parts of our state's economy, this budget increases support for our Rural Opportunity Office. To provide equal opportunity and to make sure that in Colorado we can all live lives of dignity and meaning, we increased investment by over $5.6 million to reduce waiting lists for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. This adds 129 additional
Representative
placements.
Byrd, you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm so excited by the budget, I'm using up all of my time. The investment now makes it possible, though, members, for people across the state for intellectual and developmental disabilities to participate in this program and receive these benefits. Crucially, we made investments to address the mental health crisis in our state in a meaningful way by increasing the amount of time that people may stay in institutes of in hospitals to take care of their mental illnesses. Before, they were only able to stay for 15 days. With this change, that will grow to 30 days. For children who are in most need, our budget invests in child welfare significantly to make sure that all of our counties can do their best to improve levels of service for children across our state. Members, over the last 5 months, we have worked on a bipartisan basis to craft a budget that we believe will meet the needs of people within our state who count on us to come and govern and to do what they expect state government to do and to do it well.
Representative Byrd, your time has expired.
I urge a yes vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1430 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Velasco. Please close the machine. Photo moment. With 46 aye, 18 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1430 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Wilford, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1386.
House Bill 1386 by Representatives Byrd and Sirota, also Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning the creation of the Broadband Infrastructure Cash Fund in the State Treasury to be used by the Department of Corrections to install broadband infrastructure at certain correctional facilities and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1386 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1386 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 47 ayes, 17 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1386 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1402.
House Bill 1402 by Representatives Byrd and Sirota, also Senators Bridges and Zenzinger, concerning an evaluation of the Department of Higher Education's information technology functions and services by the Office of Information Technology and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1402 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1402 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Brown, Frizzell, Lynch. Please close the machine. With 50 aye, 14 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1402 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1413.
House Bill 1413 by Representatives Byrd and Taggart, also Senators Kirkmeyer and Bridges, concerning transfers from funds that include severance tax revenue and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1413 on third reading and final passage.
Assistant Minority Leader Winter.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Kind of what I spoke about early in the long bill, I just want to bring it up one more time as you guys vote on this. Please remember where this money came from. We swept this money out of severance tax to try to help balance things. We all know where severance tax comes from, and if you don't, I'm going to remind you, it comes from oil and gas production in this state. And I appreciate the comments that the Assistant Majority Leader made, and to me, I'm not trying to put industry in front of people. I'm just having a real conversation about plus dollars and minus dollars. And without them, the math don't add up. I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Minority Leader Puglisi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Really quick, I also am against this sweeping of severance tax. I know the severance tax goes to water conservation projects, very good projects. I think sometimes we put policies in place that impact that fund, and I've watched for years that fund be swept, and so I've been against it for years and will continue to be against it today. Thank you.
Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, for this bill, I just wanted to remind you that there is funding included for water conservation, soil conservation, so we are not taking away funding from these very important priorities.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1413 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Hamrick, Young. Please close the machine. With 43 aye, 21 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1413 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1401.
House Bill 1401 by Representatives Byrd and Sirota, also Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning making appropriation to the Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing for payments to the Denver Health and Hospital Authority.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1401 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1401 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 48 ayes, 16 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1401 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1403.
House Bill 1403 by Representatives Byrd and Sirota, also Senators Zenzinger and Bridges, concerning post-secondary education support for students experiencing housing disruptions in high school and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1403 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1403 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Rep. Woodrow. Please close the machine. With 48 ayes, 16 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1403 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Ortiz, co-sponsors. Representative Wilford, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1404.
House Bill 1404 by Representatives Sirota and Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Zenzinger, concerning an exception for appropriations of less than $2 million in new legislation to the requirement that appropriation increases for student financial aid align with appropriation increases to institutions of higher education.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1404 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1404 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Armagost, Holtorf, Weinberg. Please close the machine. With 56 aye, 8 no, 1 excused, House Bill 1404 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1405.
House Bill 1405 by Representatives Burton Sirota, also Senators Bridges and Zenzinger, concerning the increased money received pursuant to the federal Families First Coronavirus Response Act used for health services at the University of Colorado and in connection therewith reducing an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1405 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1405 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Epps. Please close the machine. With 48 ayes, 16 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1405 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Ortiz, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1407.
House Bill 1407 by Representatives Sirota and Taggart, also Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning the creation of the Community Food Assistance Provider Grant Program and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1407 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1407 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 57 ayes, 7 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1407 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representatives Wilford and Ortiz, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1385.
House Bill 1385 by Representatives Burton Sirota, also Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning the deadline for the Department of Corrections to submit a request for an appropriation related to changes in caseload.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1385 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1385 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wolford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wolford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. DeGraff, Kip, Luck. Please close the machine. With 43 aye, 21 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1385 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1394.
House Bill 1394 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning funding for Charter School Institute mill levy equalization and in connection therewith increasing and decreasing appropriations.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1394 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1394 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wolford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wolford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Brown and Holtorf. Rep. Holtorf. Please close the machine. With 45 aye, 19 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1394 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1408.
House Bill 1408 by Representatives Sirota and Taggart, also Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning expenditures for care assistance programs and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1408 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1408 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wolford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wolford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Catlin, DeGraff, Holtorf, Kipp. Please close the machine. With 57 aye, 7 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1408 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representatives Wolford and Ortiz co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Members, we are halfway there. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1412.
House Bill 1412 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning clarification of the scope of the authority of the Adjutant General to disperse state money for capital asset-related purposes.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1412 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1412 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wolford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wolford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 64 ayes, 0 no, 1 excused, House Bill 1412 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1414.
House Bill 1414 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning repealing the COVID Heroes Collaboration Fund and in connection therewith transferring the balance of the fund to the general fund.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1414 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1414 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wolford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wolford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 64 ayes, 0 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1414 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1388.
House Bill 1388 by Representatives Sirota and Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Zenzinger, concerning an increase in the percentage of money transferred to the Nurse Home Visitor Program Fund from the Tobacco Litigation Settlement Cash Fund and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1388 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1388 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wolford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wolford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 59 aye, 5 no, 1 excused, House Bill 1388 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Wolford, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1415.
House Bill 1415 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Zenzinger, concerning the State Employee Reserve Fund and in connection therewith transferring $31,160,000 from the State Employee Reserve Fund to the General Fund.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1415 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1315 1415, sorry. House Bill 1415 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. Oops. AML Winter, sorry. Please close the machine. With 52 aye, 12 no, 1 excused, House Bill 1415 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1416.
House Bill 1416 by Representatives Sirota and Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Zenzinger, concerning the creation of the Healthy Food Incentives Program and in connection therewith making appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1416 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1416 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 48 ayes, 16 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1416 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1417.
House Bill 1417 by Representatives Burton Sirota, also Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning license fees payable to healthcare cash funds.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1417 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1417 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 47 ayes, 17 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1417 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1418.
House Bill 1418 by Representatives Sirota and Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning the transfer of money from the Hazardous Substance Site Response Fund to the Hazardous Substance Response Fund.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1418 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1418 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 64 ayes, 0 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1418 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1425.
House Bill 1425 by Representatives Burton Sirota, also Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning transfers of money for capital construction.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1425 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1425 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Hernandez and Ricks. Please close the machine. With 61 aye, 3 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1425 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1426.
House Bill 1426 by Representatives Burton Sirota, also Senators Bridges and Zenzinger, concerning transferring the balance of the Controlled Maintenance Trust Fund to the General Fund.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1426 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1426 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 49 aye, 15 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1426 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1427.
House Bill 1427 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Zenzinger, concerning a requirement that the state auditor retain an actuarial firm with experience in public sector pension plans to conduct a study regarding the Public Employees Retirement Association and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1427 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1427 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 63 ayes, 0 no, 2 excused, House Bill 1427 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1419.
House Bill 1419 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Zenzinger, concerning a transfer of $10 million from the Energy and Carbon Management Cash Fund to the Stationary Sources Control Fund.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1419 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1419 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 48 ayes, 16 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1419 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1411.
House Bill 1411 by Representatives Sirota and Taggart, also Senators Kirkmeyer and Zenzinger, concerning an increase in the amount of fees paid to the Property Tax Exemption Fund for filing property tax exemption forms.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1411 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1411 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 47 ayes, 17 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1411 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1389.
House Bill 1389 by Representatives Sirota and Taggart, also Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning providing funding to schools in the 2023-24 budget year for increases in pupil enrollment after the 2023-24 budget year pupil enrollment count day and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1389 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1389 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Frizzell, Holtorf, Winter. Please close the machine. With 49 aye, 15 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1389 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Ortiz and Wilford, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1406.
House Bill 1406 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning the creation of the school-based mental health support program and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1406 on third reading and final passage.
Mr. Shebel, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1406 on third reading, final passage. Now, Mr. Shebel, please open the machine. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Kipp. Please close the machine. With 47 ayes, 17 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1406 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representatives Wilford and Ortiz, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1390.
House Bill 1390 by Representatives Burton Sirota, also Senators Kirkmeyer and Bridges, concerning measures to support certain school food programs in the Department of Education and in connection therewith, making and reducing an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1390 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1390 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wolford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wolford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 47 ayes, 17 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1390 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Wolford and Ortiz, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1421.
House Bill 1421 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Zenzinger, concerning modifying funding for grant programs administered by the Division of Criminal Justice in the Department of Public Safety and in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1421 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1421 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wolford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wolford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 58 ayes, 6 no, and 1 excused, one excused, House Bill 1421 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1422.
House Bill 1422 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning the cost threshold of controlled maintenance projects for capital renewal.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1422 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1422 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wolford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wolford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Rep. Mabry. Please close the machine. With 56 aye, 8 no, 1 excused, House Bill 1422 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1423.
House Bill 1423 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, concerning money administered by the Division of Parks and Wildlife in the Department of Natural Resources and in connection therewith, reducing an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1423 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1423 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 64 ayes, 0 no, 1 excused, House Bill 1423 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Ortiz, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1424.
House Bill 1424 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning the transfer of $1,496,000 from the College Opportunity Fund to the General Fund.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1424 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1424 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 53 aye, 11 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1424 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1410.
House Bill 1410 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Bridges and Zenzinger, concerning administrative changes to the Just Transition Office in the Department of Labor and Employment.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1410 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1410 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 51 aye, 13 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1410 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1393.
House Bill 1393 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning measures to reduce the cost of the accelerating students through concurrent enrollment program and in connection therewith making and reducing an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1393 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1393 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 57 ayes, 7 no, 1 excused, House Bill 1393 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1420.
House Bill 1420 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, concerning the transfer of money from the General Fund to the Colorado Crime Victim Services Fund.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1420 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1420 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 63 aye, 1 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1420 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, bring us home. Please read the title to House Bill 1392.
House Bill 1392 by Representatives Burton Taggart, also Senators Kirkmeyer and Bridges, concerning revising the fourth-year innovation pilot program and in connection therewith, limiting local education provider and school participation, and adding program evaluation requirements.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1392 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1392 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Wilford votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Please close the machine. With 60 aye, 4 no, 1 excused, House Bill 1392 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to lay over House Bill 1230 to Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024.
Seeing no objection, the bill will be laid over until tomorrow, Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to lay over the balance of the calendar to Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over until Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. Announcements, introductions. Rep. Snyder.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Okay, the final lineup for today's Finance Committee is we will hear House Bill 1312, we will hear House Bill 1243 for action only, House Bill 1064, and House Bill 1349. Thank you.
Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Agriculture will meet at 1:45. We'll see you downstairs, 1:45.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House stand in recess until later today.
Seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess until later today.